Hey, my name is Lisa Larson, and we are going to go over sounds today. Now, you think that maybe this might just go for young children, but not so. There are many children that are in their teenage years that actually need this lesson if they're having a hard time with their spelling words or having a hard time reading. Then this is where I would go to first, and I went over that a little bit in our first lesson. So now, what I always do is I scramble up the alphabet. And is what that makes it so that your child can learn those when it's not in alphabetical order. So this is how, the reason why I pull these first ones out is because these are confusables with other letters in the alphabet. So I pull those out first and we learn those first. So I'm gonna bring in my son and Paul, and he's going to help demonstrate how we first start. So I'm gonna give him the sound and then he'll point to it. G.
G.
Z.
Z.
B.
B.
T. T. And then if your child is having a really hard time going over these and it's not setting in their mind, that's when I introduce nonsense words. Now, your nonsense words, you don't have to buy nonsense words and think, oh wow, that's overwhelming. You just get in and get on the computer and say, hey, I want words that start with B, or words that start with a B, or words that start with a G. So, and then you want a multi-syllable word, and then you pull out a syllable that has those multi-syllable words. You just pull out the syllable that has the consonant or the vowel that you need. So that's all you have to do to find your nonsense words. So that's what I did with these. These came out of regular words. But anyways, so Paul, come on back in here, and we're going to, so first off, I'm going to give him the nonsense word. He's not going to see it, but I'll give him the nonsense word, and I say, I want the first sound. So he'll repeat the first sound and point to it. Breg.
B.
Mag. Last sound. Mag.
G.
And I forgot to say first sound. So if I say first sound, breg. So first sound, breg.
B.
Last sound, mag.
G.
So, and then we can say, I want the vowel, and we say fress for the vowel. And then if they don't tap out the vowel, you say, I want you to tap out the vowel with your keyword. So go ahead and do that. Tap out the vowel with the keyword. Up here, you tap it out by your vowel.
Elbow.
So, and then he would tap out that vowel. So, anyways, go ahead. Thank you, Paul. So go ahead and then you go incorporate the next bunch, and then you don't move on until this is done. Incorporate your nonsense words, do the next set. See how I have the next set, then I'm incorporating another vowel, and that is, your I's and your E's are so confusables. You need to make sure they are very solid in those, and then you'll eventually just put them all in. So you have the QUs that are very confusables in here. And this actually is considered a digraph. So you never spell your Q without the U ever. But I always put it in right here. It says Q. And you put it in, but you always let them know QU is a digraph, and it makes the Q sound. So also what's really confusing are your T's with the X's and the W's and the X's. For some reason, children mix those sounds up. And then they also get words like the T gets mixed up with the ED, and this is the reason why. So let's do abrupt, abduct. And then we're gonna add your ED, abducted. And so, but look what happens here, jump. Whoops. So jump, and you add your suffix ed, it says jumped. See how confusing that could be? And so we will talk about that in a later lesson, why this is so confusing for children with the T and the ED. That was just an example, and we'll go into that extensively later on. So also, what gets really confused are the G's and the J's. So the reason why is because G's say J, just like the J says J, but there's a reason when the G says J. And so if you're not understanding that reason, then it makes spelling and reading a little bit more difficult. So like this word, could say, this is G or gay or ga, depending on what syllable it's in, where it falls in the word. So for instance, we have frugal. See, it's G-A-L. It's schwa. We have organize. And we have like negation. So those are words that work. And see, that one it's long, so it is accented, so it's saying it's long sound. So now look at these, E, I's, and Y's. So the E, I, and the Y will change your G to a J sound. And so it's very important to you understand why. Okay, so now we have the GE. We're gonna focus on that. So look how, I'm gonna do George. So look how this works. Now GEs at the end, the E is silent, and this says J. So if you want to spell J at the end of a word, you always spell it with a GE. So, but look what happens here. So it can be at the beginning of a word, but not very often. You will see, I mean, if for it to say just J. So this right here, look at that, what happens when the G's gone. It says gorge. But you put the E in there and it forces that G to say J. So, but GEs at the end of a word say J. But this could say different sounds at different times. So we have budgeted, or we have alienage, and look at this right here. So this also happens at the beginning of words, not at the end. So sometimes it will say g, like get, and sometimes it will say j, like gem. And so you just need to know that that happens, but it doesn't happen in the middle of words, and it doesn't happen, it will not happen at the end of words, because J's are not at the end of words. GE is at the end of a word. So now let's look at the GI. So we have GI. So this could say J, could say Jai. So let's see. So like the word illegible or beginning. So beginning, it says gin. So it can also happen with this at the beginning of words, where it doesn't move that into the J sound. So, but look at this word. So now we have the word gigantic. Look what it's doing. Gi, it's saying J. And see, it's also seeing how it's saying the I sound. And then gantic, and it's saying that it's short sound. So this is the accented syllable here, but look how it's making it so it's G. And this is J. But it's because of this vowel. And then it's because of this vowel why that remains G. So now let's look at GY. And when you see a GY, most of the time that is at the end of words. if it's at the end of a word, it's going to say G. Like the words eulogy or spongy or oology, allergy. So if you hear G, you need to spell it G-Y. You don't spell it. A lot of children get this mixed up where they spell it with a G-E. E's at the end are silent. There are some exceptions, and most of the time it's when they're not in the English language. It comes from a different language. But if you want G, you need to spell it with a G-Y. If you want G, you spell it G-E. So that's really important that a child knows that, because they want to spell G like that. And anyways, so also if you have a GY at the middle of a word, like this word, gym, that tells you, this is actually short for gymnasium. So this tells you it's a Greek word. And if you think about the Greek people, how they started the Olympics, and this is coming from the Greek language. But look at this word. So you have a base word here that says brag, and a consonant, vowel, consonant. This follows a spelling rule. This has to be doubled before you add on a vowel suffix. And so this will not say, you don't say brag G, you don't do that. You just keep the G sound, braggy. And so that's kind of how, so sometimes you'll have like flaggy, you'll have different words like that. That sounds goofy, but that actually exists. So look at the GU right here. So we have the GU is a little bit more complicated. So GAs and GUs, they do not change it to a J sound. So just these do. But anyways, so let's go through these words. We have gurgitate. It's saying the sound. So argument. See how it's saying the long U sound? So now look at this one. This sound is coming from a different language. This says Guam. Guam. So you know, if you hear gua, then it's probably a different language. So look at this one. So this says Ciguataria. Sigua. See, look, gua. This right here is not considered a vowel here. It's not considered a vowel here. Here's your vowel. This is part of this sound that says gua. So look at this one, blowgun. It's saying it's short sound, the U. But look here, guide. Look what happens if the U's not there. So that's your E, I, or a Y. It's saying chain. Now this says jide. Well, I don't have my green, but we have, this says guide. Now, this U right here is not considered a vowel in this word because it's only there to keep the G from saying J. That's the only reason that's there. But see, look at this one, GU, but this says guy. But this right here says I, and it's a vowel team. So it's not doing the same thing here as it is here. Here, it's not a vowel, but this is a vowel, and it's part of a vowel team. So, but now look at this word, fugu. Now this is coming from a different language. In our language, the English language, we don't have U's at the end of the words. This is what we have at the end of our words, UE. You don't have U's at the end of your word. So then we have fugu. This is in Japanese. So now let's go ahead. Now we have all of the alphabet put together, and we've discussed that. So I'm going to have Paul come back in, and I'm going to show you what we do. I'm not going to do nonsense words because we already went over those, but this is how you would do once you're bringing in all of them. We have the whole alphabet in here. We have our digraphs in. You would bring your digraphs in as you go along, making sure that they have your digraphs. It's very important that this is in here. So let's just do a few of it. And now when you have all of your vowels in here, that's when you make sure that you incorporate your vowels so many times. I would say 3, 5, 5. This is 3 times, that you use that for 20 minutes a day into your vowels. So, are you ready? Okay, b.
B.
A.
Apple.
J.
J.
Oh, see?
J.
See how that's confusing, and he knows his letters. So that how these children and even adults can confuse the J and the G. So, G.
G.
J.
J.
See? And so it's important that you go back to those sounds when they make that mistake.
Elbow.
V.
Umpire.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you get your Y down. I like to have a keyword with the Y unless your child is so solid in the Y, but I typically use yellow. It's such a great word. Makes me feel happy. So I use keywords for yellow because the Y obviously turns into a vowel, and it makes the eh and the E, or it makes the E and the I sound. So also another thing that is important when you're doing your sounds is, let's say I say k, 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 k. Now if they don't get all 3 sounds, then you would prompt them to make sure that they're understanding that all of those sounds say k. So also I want to go into the U sound, back into the U sound, and how important that is. So I bring those in at the very end because the U and the A make different sounds, a lot of different sounds. And so I make sure that you have all of these, and then we bring it in and we just really hammer the U and making sure that they're understanding the short sound of the U. Because when the U is short, it says when it's long, it says U or U, or lots of different sounds. So depending on the consonant that's in front of the U, it changes this sound. But what is super confusable with children is when they want to say Q, like cucumber. You spell it C-U, but what they want to spell it is a Q-U. And you need to talk to them about this. When you like the word cute, they still want to spell it with a Q-U. And so, but look at this word, apply. See how this sounds like the short U sound right here. But this A turns to schwa here because it's a closed syllable, and we'll go into closed syllables. We'll go into all of our syllables, so you're understanding when things change. This is a closed syllable, it's not accented, and so that turns to schwa. But look right here, this is the reason why it's so important to know your Latin roots, and ply is a Latin root, and effect is a Latin root, tract is a Latin root. So I would say around 50% of our English language, we have Latin roots. So then look at this, affect. So this is a chameleon, apply. This is a chameleon prefix, affect. So look, this changed because it's not accented. So when it's not accented, it changes the A. But look, it sounds like a U. So a lot of children want to put a U in front of that, and it's super confusing. But then they don't know whether they should double it, because then that says effect. because it now becomes open. See how confusing that can be? So attract. So it also gets you confused with O's a little bit, but we'll go into that. So this is not accented because the Latin root is almost always, I would say 99.9999%, it's the accented syllable. So if you can find your Latin root, you will see that it is the accented syllable, so you know that that's going to be an A or an O, and you would just put that on as your chameleon. So anyways, a little bit about that. So now we have right here, short A, say ah, when they are accented. So in all one syllable words, you know they're accented, but look what happens when they're not accented. It says So we will go over the A's a lot more in another lesson, but I can't remember if I said the M and the N's get confusable, that's why it's in there, and the Z gets confused with the V a lot. So anyways, there you are, and hopefully see you in the next lesson.
Thank you. Bye.